County. What's your name?
Tristan.
Tristan, thanks for being here. You're with the Charlie Kirk Legacy Project.
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us a little bit about what that is? Because I love Charlie.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of it. I want to know what you're doing.
So it's a nonprofit I started. We're partnered with Turning Point USA Faith. The goal is to get involved in political activism, fight like Charlie. We show up at campuses, and we table. We go to No Kings protests, and we counter protest. Our goal is to empower the younger generation and also allow the older generation to get involved as well. My plan is to start a Turning Point USA Faith chapter locally to Cape Coral, and even expand it to be the Southwest Florida, faith chapter. But in order to do that, I need support. So that's why we come to events like this, to get like-minded guys like yourself. The best way to find us is through our Facebook page, Charlie Kirk Legacy Project.
That's amazing. I love what you're doing because local action like that really does change the world. It changes the nation as a whole because everyone doing little things like that makes a big difference. What are some of the things you guys have done so far to spread that message of Charlie Kirk and freedom?
Yeah, so I kind of felt called for a while, like there's scripture that Jesus went into the wilderness, he spent time away from distractions, he spent time on his own, and he was being tempted by Satan, but he was also free to connect with God, to form an intense relationship with him.
Yeah.
And so the first mission that I went on with a truck, which
oh yeah, let's show this.
Yeah, you want to show the truck real quick?
Let's show this truck over here. We got the Charlie Kirk Legacy Project Cybertruck. Is it a Cybertruck? That's amazing.
Yeah, so originally I got the truck, so I also do insurance adjusting, and so I was originally going to wrap it with my company, and then Charlie got shot, and so I was devastated.
Me too.
Doom scrolling, and then sadness, anger, all of it, and I felt called, and I was like, how could I use my belongings to honor a man who's made such a big impact on me and those that I love? It's so crazy. Even my own relationship with my family, like how it's changed and how it's become more Christ-centered since his death.
You've heard so many people saying they went to the church for the first time, or they opened their Bible for the first time in 10 years after that happened. It's actually been 10 months as of yesterday since Charlie Kirk's assassination. How do we ignite the young people to come together for his legacy and just continuing what he does? Because it could discourage some people, it could scare some people, but we have to overcome that fear and keep going. How do we encourage them to do that?
Yeah, so get out of your comfort zone. Do things you've never done before. Going back to what I was saying, my very first mission was I took the truck. I traveled cross country all the way to Utah from Florida. I camped. Like I went out into the wilderness, just me and my dog. I stopped and did political activism on the way. I set up, I tabled. Anytime, I'm so grateful for this truck. Like I feel like some people look at it and it is kind of a pride issue because it's a very powerful statement. But for me, it's allowed me to, like, everywhere I go, I talk about Christ. I get to talk about the legacy of a man and try to carry it on so I can become transformed, so my heart and my desires become transformed.
I love it. And, young people are going to save this country. And you and I, we are living proof of his legacy. So
people are the key to saving America. That's it right there.
I love that. Thank you so much for what you're doing. I appreciate it. And thank you guys. Remember to stay tuned for the live coverage of the speakers coming up real soon here. We're going to have Madison Cawthorn, Bobby Williams, Jay Collins, plenty of speakers. And also, shout out to our sponsor real quick, We the People Health and Wellness. Thanks for allowing us to be able to do this. And we'll see you guys real soon for the live coverage.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. That's awesome. Here, let me give you our Oh, really?
Yeah.
We already have him scheduled for an interview?
Oh my God, how are you?
Nice to meet
Nice
you.
to meet you. I'm Marita.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we'll give them a little sneak peek then.
Yeah.
And then you can mention we will interview you on our studio or something like that.
All right, welcome back to our live coverage, Coastal Conservative News. We're here with a congressional candidate. What's your name?
Seth Haskin.
Seth, thank you so much for taking the time with us. We actually have a long-form interview scheduled with you, but we want to give the viewers a little sneak peek of what's going on. You're here in a full outfit today. Just tell me about what this is.
So my goal is to invoke the founding fathers, kind of bring back the Enlightenment principles that founded our country. My major goal is something that I think has really addressed the issue of corruption, which is the House of Representatives, the size of it.
Yeah.
So our founders understood that the House of Representatives was the people's house and it's supposed to represent the people, and that representation is the cornerstone of a Republican government. Right now, since 1929, our House has been capped at 435 representatives, and we've grown by millions and millions of people, but our House hasn't grown. So I think if we grow the House, a couple of things will happen. Congressional districts will get smaller. So that means more grassroots candidates, more competition, less barrier for entry for candidates. It's harder to gerrymander smaller congressional districts because those borders get closer and closer together. And then it also affects the electoral college. A lot of people don't believe or understand that the Congress's numbers are directly attached to the electoral college. So if we grow the House, the electoral college also grows, which means it will also act as a check on the president's election as well.
That's interesting. I haven't heard anyone talk about that, so that's a cool idea. Can you turn around for us? Can I see the back of the sign? It says the Uniparty is real. So can you explain what that is? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so the Uniparty is basically jabbing fun at the party system in our country, basically saying no matter who you vote for, they're the same person, Democrat, Republican, they're bought, sold by the same lobbies, same corporations, everything else. And it's just a way to make fun of the both parties. And it's like, well, he's conservative, he's liberal, he's Democrat, he's Republican, he's whatever.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't actually pay attention to who you're voting for, they're probably just a stand-in for like somebody's mouthpiece on a corporation or lobby.
And you're right. A lot of the times we elect candidates, but it doesn't feel like we're actually being represented because it's both sides of the same bird. You heard of that. Where can they find you? What district are you running in?
Yeah, Congressional District 19, so Byron Donald's old seat.
Okay.
I'll be one of three options on the ballot, so it's a Democrat, Republican, and me. I don't have to go through a primary because I'm no party affiliation. Yeah. So,
awesome. Well, stay tuned, guys. We're going to have a long-form interview with you, too.
You said where to find me. You can find me at Seth Haskin for Florida.com. Otherwise, just look up Seth Haskin on Google. I'm one of the first things to pop up.
Awesome. We look forward to sitting down with you and learn more about your campaign.
Yeah,
appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Stay tuned for more coverage. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll see you guys on the 16th.
Yeah, are you coming in studio or?
Yeah, in studio.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's a bit of a drive, but it's worth it.
Yeah. All right, guys, welcome back to Coastal Conservative News, our live coverage here in Lee County. I'm here with Joe Angrisano. You're counting
right.
I know. I had to ask before. I had to ask her. Okay, so you're a. Oh, okay, awesome. You're a candidate for City Council in Cape Coral.
Absolutely. Candidate in District 6.
Awesome. What are you running for?
I'm running for City Council.
And what's the main reason that you got in this race and what you want to change?
I got in the race for the utilities expansion project and how expensive it's become for all the citizens in Cape Coral. And I'm looking to help the senior citizens that are being forced out of the city based on the charges for those hookup fees that are over $50,000 per home.
So what can we do about that if you do get elected?
I think one of the things that we can do is to find money in the budget for the senior citizens. That's the number one thing. And the other thing is that if we have any kind of cooperation to the new city council, when I'm elected to city council, we're going to find that money to reduce the charges and get it set at a price that's reasonable and affordable for everybody. I'd also like to eliminate the interest that they're charging. If you charge $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over 30 years, you're up for another $300, $400, $500 a month plus interest. So if I take my hookup fee of $50,000, put it over time, I'm at over $100,000, including interest. That has to stop on behalf of the citizens.
Wow.
There's many other reasons I was running. Just recently, the mangroves being torn up. Just recently, the abandoned homes that they're not being completed. Why aren't the homes being completed? So that's just a small thing. Putting up a $250 million yacht club, the out of control spending, it's insane.
Well, thank you for getting involved and doing something locally. That's where it all starts.
Absolutely.
I love your shirt. We're here at the Liberty 250 event celebrating 250 years.
Had to have it, exactly.
What do you love about America in this 250-year mark?
Well, what I love about America, for one thing, is an event like this. We've got good Christians here today. We've got people representing a motorcycle club is here today. I mean, this is Americana. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah. And so what are you looking forward to speaking to the voters and telling them about why they need to choose you for Cape Coral City Council?
I have the experience, the corporate experience solving problems. I want to put the work in. And what I'm finding is that the current council, they're not putting the work in. They're not prepared when they come to vote. The next thing you know, they're driving it down the road. Well, let's talk about that next week. No, I want to decide right away and get things done for the people in Cape Coral.
Thank you so much. Where can they find you if they want to support your campaign?
If they want to support the campaign, CapeCoralVotes.com. CapeCoralVotes.com.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, Joe. Good luck in your race. We'll be right back with more coverage.
A big tax
How are you?
Good. Cam Demending out this Coastal Conservative News. We're here out at Lee County for the Liberty 250 event. What does 250 years of this country mean to you?
Everything. Look at where we come from in 250 years. You know, I love the fact that you have like Angel TV putting together these amazing movies. Have you seen Young Washington?
I watched it last night.
Oh my gosh, man, I took my boys to it. What an amazing thing. But those are foundational things. We're a nation based on Judeo-Christian values. We are. It goes back to our roots. It goes back to faith. It goes back to family. It goes back to freedom. Talking about 250 years is amazing, but it's the next 250 years where we have to focus.
Yeah.
And the reality is this. We have to have principles. Our principles drive our policy. You can't have policy adjust your principles out of convenience. That has been our focus. It's all about those American ideas, principles, values. And that's why we're doing everything we're doing in running to be governor. You know, I work for the greatest governor in our state's history, and we speak, live, eat, and breathe this every day. And I'm so proud of where our country's been, but man, I'm so excited about where we're going to be. It's up to us, though, to protect it.
Yeah, absolutely. When people say that when Florida leads, America wins. How do we keep Florida winning?
Well, if Florida's going to continue to lead, we got to have the right leaders, right? You know, there are people right now in this race who want us to be more like Washington, D.C., who want to bring back more of the swamp, more of this, that system. I would submit, and I think 23.5 million Floridians would probably agree with me, that we don't need to be like D.C. D.C. needs to be a whole lot more like us. But it comes down to having a leader who has a moral compass. Where does it point? You know, my moral compass doesn't point to what's best for me. Believe me, politics was never my dream. I thought for sure I'd be on a boat in the Gulf fishing with my kids. But, you know, it comes down to those who can fight, need to fight, and there's no one else. Look around the world. Florida is a bright spot among the 50 states, and there is no place like America in the entire world, and we have to defend it. My moral compass was true in places like Afghanistan, Iraq, South America, and the hardest thing I've ever done wasn't getting shot. It wasn't going overseas. It certainly isn't politics. It was talking to someone I knew and loved, talking to their family when they passed away, when they gave that last full measure of devotion. That is where my moral compass comes from. That's how it was true, and that's what drives me every single day. We stick to our values. We win. America wins.
Thank you. And you know, thank you for your service, by the way. I appreciate it. But I saw you gave a very impactful statement by, you know, taking your leg and putting it on the table. Can you describe what was going on through your head when you were doing that and what that means to you?
Yeah, look, I am not one to use, you know, my amputation. I don't look at it as a disability.
Yeah.
But I was so stunned by the fact that somebody would take the idea of a debate and say it's a participation trophy. Like, did I hear this right? Did he really say that? And the only thing I could think of is to take this back to what the price of freedom is. And we are the land of the free, but it's because of the sacrifice of a very few people
Absolutely.
that we get to be here. That's why it's foundational to talk about it. And when I put it out there, it was off the cuff. It was unplanned. And you saw that. You know what the funny thing is? I then had to finish that whole conversation and that conference on one leg.
Wow.
So I'm trying to balance and holding the podium. My foot was so sore. But, you know, that moment went viral and it grabbed people's attention.
Yeah.
But this isn't about the candidates. This is about the people of Florida. They have a right to see Byron Donalds get out on the stage. And if he's as strong as he says he is on policy, as strong as he says he is in the community, well, then it's not going to matter. He'll win going away. Let the people see it. But if it's not true, which it seems to be not true based on what I'm seeing, what are you afraid of? Get in the ring, get in the fight, and show people you are who you say you are.
I don't think it's a question. Everyone wants to see a debate with all the candidates, especially Byron Donalds, yourself, and the top runners. But you just had a debate without Byron Donalds. It was you on stage with a few others. How do you rate your performance and what you've got to convey to the voters?
Well, it was hard to get a point in because I was getting talked over most of the debate by the two people to my left and right. And there was obviously coordination, right? But in the end, look, I would say I did a C plus, maybe. And there are things I would love to have done better. And I'm very hard on myself. Where I come from, we don't talk about our wins. We talk about our losses and dissect them to learn and win and get better. Nothing is ever good enough. You've got to continue to strive for excellence. I would have loved to have performed better. And the fact is this, we're in this race. But you know what I found? I'm hypercritical of everything I say, everything I do. Talking to real people in the communities, they're like, yeah, we saw some of this. You were under attack. You were under duress the entire time. And you were trying to get your information out. But you were the only one talking about principles. When it came to data centers, you know, the point I was trying to convey is simple. Do we believe in limited government? or are we going to push for the state government to take more control from the local governments? That's the crux of what we're talking about. And I'm not a big government person. It's limited government, our foundational principles. And in our first 250, you think we should learn that by now, right? In our next 250, let's try to put that behind us and remember that less government is better. It's freedoms come from God, upheld by our Constitution, and it's not the government's money. It's your money. We want you to keep it.
What is your message directly to Byron Donalds on this debate situation? Will we see a debate between you and him and other candidates?
Well, look, anytime, anywhere, any place. I'm happy to do it. Byron, let's get on the stage. Call Fox News, man. You have their number. Obviously, you're on Fox every single day. Let's do a debate. Let's get on there and let's talk about the issues with people of Florida.
Thank you so much, Jay Collins. Appreciate your time.
Everybody.
To the stage.
My name is Denise Nystrom. I am the vice chair of the
That's pretty long. Like I got to ask a lot of questions.
That's right. Victor Mike Lee.
What do you guys talk
Together.
about? Oh yeah, Mike.
Mike.
Let me plug it in.
Hey, thank you everybody for being out here and joining us. This means the world to us.
Where's the?
We can do all that we can and organize and spend all the time and putting this together. But
You have the
without each and every
focus
single
where-
one of us, this isn't possible. So thank you for being here with us.
Is this?
Now we're going to launch right away into
It's good.
invocations and Pledge of Allegiance. From there, I'll circle on back. I'm going to give a few words as to the celebration of the day. That is my biggest mission statement today is I want to really make sure that we deliver the message that we are honoring the past and defending the future and preparing for what comes next. Because that is what is in my heart. I'm going to touch bases on that. We'll come back to that. But for now, I'd like to introduce Kyle
I
Collins
can't do anything.
for Jack
Can you help?
Up Motors.
Well, do we need?
Sorry.
You still have that square in the middle.
Oh.
All right, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
We could move our hats. I'll
Okay.
lead us in prayer. Father God, thank you for this country, Lord. Thank you for all our victories, our achievements, our many successes, and thank you, Jesus, that we are the most powerful nation to ever inhabit your creation. It is truly by your grace, Lord Jesus. Thank you for our president. Thank you for 250 years of freedom. Thank you for blessing your people Israel, who you will keep
Put this back
forever.
on.
Lord, I cry, make our country reverent again. May we lift your name up in our homes, in our cities, to all people across this blessed land. You've entrusted us, patriots, to steward her. Give us the courage to proclaim the healing, saving, and resurrecting power that only comes from you. Jesus be the name held highest by our leaders, our warriors, our men. Lord, you speak the truth when you say every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that you are King. Lord, your people gather here today to plead on behalf of this nation. For we know when a nation sins so egregiously, the whole nation is defiled, and the land will vomit out its inhabitants. So, my fellow patriots, let us challenge each other in the love of Christ. Let us repent quickly, pick up our Bibles daily, and pursue the Lord in all things, with all of our heart. In doing so, may the good Lord turn his face towards this nation and preserve this beautiful republic for all generations. All God's people said, Amen. All right. Next would be the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to pass that on over for Denise to introduce our Colonel.
We have Colonel Epkins close by. Okay. So we have Colonel Steve Epkins, who's going to lead us in the pledge. Let me just tell you a little bit about him. Colonel Epkins was a senior intelligence officer, a deputy chief of staff for intelligence. He provided intelligence, security, and electronic warfare support to all special forces, rangers, special operations, aviation, psychological operations, and civil affairs units. I would give anything to spend some time with Colonel Epkins and have him tell me what he knows. But as the saying goes, if he told me, then he'd have to kill me. Welcome, Steve. Welcome, Colonel Epkins, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you very much for a very kind introduction. I'm happy to be here today with my Green Beret brothers. There's two of them here, and they're both running for office. First one is our Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins, and the second one is running for mayor, Eric Erickson.
Picking up this audio.
I'll just tell you, it's three Green Berets here for you.
I can flip
All right.
cameras. We'll still
Ladies and
make
gentlemen,
audio.
just would say with me,
Let me know.
the Pledge of
Thumbs up.
Allegiance. Facing the flag, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
And now I would like to introduce Tessa Page, who will lead us in the national anthem. Tessa is a gifted vocalist whose passion for music began at the age of and balancing her love with her commitment to serving. For her heartfelt performances, Tessa has had the honor of singing the national anthem at public and community events, using her voice to inspire, unite, and uplift audiences, whether performing for civic gatherings, special occasions, or community celebrations. She strives to leave every listener with a renewed sense of hope, pride, and encouragement. Welcome, Tessa. Oh,
Yes.
can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the great parts stream and to bring the bombs bursting in gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
All right, all right. Suppose that's my cue now. If you know me, I like to talk. It's a hot day, but take a look around, folks. It's a beautiful day. Just last night, I was out here preparing, doing the final steps, and it was swamped out here. It was pouring cats and dogs. And I was afraid it was going to happen this morning, but here we are. It's working out just fine. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get started. Now, but before we get started, I want to do something that's far more important than anything I'm about to say. If you have ever worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces, whether in wartime or peacetime, whether you served for 4 years or 30 years, would you please stand so that we can recognize you? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, because every freedom we enjoy today, every vote we cast, every church we attend, every business we own, every opinion we're free to express, rests upon the shoulders of Americans who answered the call when their country asked. So we thank you from the bottom of our heart. We are here today because of you. I'd also like to thank the Republican Liberty Caucus of Lee County putting together this incredible event. Thank you, folks. Let's give them a round of applause too, though. Volunteers are out there, they're doing their things. Thank you very much. Now, because here's something we sometimes forget. Liberty doesn't survive because it has good marketing departments. It survives because ordinary people decide it's worth defending. People like you, people like each and every single one of you. Now, I have a confession to make. If you already know me, you know I'm a bit of a history nerd, and I love history. Some people binge Netflix. I binge biographies like George Washington. My wife and my friends might think that's a little strange, but I promise you, the more history you read, the more fascinating today's world becomes. Because history has a funny way of repeating itself. Not exactly, but it definitely rhymes. And our founders knew that they didn't invent freedom, they studied it. They studied Greece, they studied Rome, they studied the success and failures of every republic they could find. Then they asked one of the greatest questions ever asked. How do we build a nation where the people stay in charge? And that question gave us America. Think about it. Out of all human history, kings ruled, emperors ruled, dictators ruled, but a nation built on the idea that government works for us, that was revolutionary. And here we are, 250 years later, still trying to live up to that promise. Now let me ask you something. How many of you watch the news? Obviously, we all do, right? Yeah, I figured. So, now let me ask a harder question. How many of you ever watched the news and thought, there's got to be more to the story that is being presented before us? Exactly. And that's why I started reading history even more. Because eventually you realize that today's headlines didn't suddenly appear yesterday morning. They have roots, sometimes decades old, sometimes centuries old. There are old rivalries, old alliances, old economic battles, old strategic interests. Historians have even given some of these long-running struggles names. And one of them, I'm sure many of you have heard before, is the Great Game. If you haven't heard that before, I highly urge each and every single one of you to look into the relevance of that and how it is playing out today. It will begin to make a lot of sense to you in what you are seeing play out around the world and what you are seeing here in our country and seeing what our president is trying to do. Now, I'm not going to keep you here for 3 or 4 hours on a history class. Although, if you ask my friends, you all know that I probably could. But here's the point. The more history you study, the less surprised you become. You begin asking better questions. You become a little harder to fool. You stop reacting to every headline, and you start looking for the bigger picture. That's not cynicism. That's citizenship. One republic doesn't need more people who memorize talking points. Our republic doesn't need more people who memorize talking points. It needs more citizens who think, who read, who ask questions respectfully, who can disagree without becoming enemies, who love this country enough to keep learning about it. That's exactly why this organization, the Republican Liberty Caucus, is working tirelessly. We just launched 6 weeks ago. All of this was done in 6 weeks because it is in our hearts and it is the mission statement that we're on. So not only do we launch an organization, but we presented this, and we have much more coming up here soon. So again, they're not just about elections. They're about reminding us that self-government begins with self-education. Because here's the truth. Washington isn't coming back. Thomas Jefferson isn't walking through any of these doors. Ronald Reagan isn't giving another speech. It is us. We are the adults in the room now. We are the generation that's been handed the keys. And one day our grandchildren are going to ask, what did you do with America? Are we going to tell them? That we argued on Facebook? Or that we rolled up our sleeves? Served our communities, mentored the young, protected constitutional liberties, supported our local businesses, honored our veterans, and left this country stronger than we found it? I know which answer I want to give. America's story has never been perfect, but it has always been extraordinary because every generation has produced men and women willing to say, I'll take responsibility. That's what built this nation. That's what preserved this nation. And I believe that is exactly what will carry America into her next 250 years. So today, we celebrate, we laugh, meet someone you haven't met before, shake the hand of a veteran, thank a first responder in the crowd, support the vendors who came out today, bring a young person into the conversation, and maybe, just maybe, when you get home tonight, pick up a history book. Because the more you understand where we've been, the better prepared you'll be to help and decide where we're going. Congratulations, America. Happy 250th anniversary. May God bless every veteran who has defended her. May God bless the Republican Liberty Caucus of Lee County. And may God bless the great state of Florida. And may God continue to bless the United States of America. Thank you.
I'd say give it up for Mike Leva, but I don't think that needs to happen. So I want to tell you about the vendors that are here today. We have people that are selling crafts. We have fresh popcorn, somebody that pops it and just shows up at places like this, ice cream, the food truck, and also the RLC has giveaways. And I'd like Christine Garris to come up and just tell you what they are. They are giveaways. Hold on.
Good afternoon, people. So I just want to make sure, I'm going to keep this brief, that you each got your giveaway ticket. And if you have not received it, you need to stop by the tent back by the big tree where you came in admissions. There's merchandise for sale there, and you will also be able to get your ticket. We are doing a giveaway, several. We have a silent auction also available to start a bid on. The minimum bid is $300, but it's a $1,200 silent auction donation from one of our Republican Liberty Caucus members. It will be a Dolphins Giants preseason first game, club seats, 4 tickets. So you want to make sure that you check out that silent auction back at our table under the tree. And we'd be appreciative if somebody could generously start the $300 bid valued at $1,200 for those Dolphin Giants pregame club seats. We also have giveaways, actually, 1-year membership from the Fowler Firearms and Gun Range. We have 3 $200 memberships that will be drawn today. And if you're not here, you can leave your name and number on the ticket, and you will be called if your ticket is drawn. You don't have to be here to win. So make sure you stop by our booth and get your ticket. Suggested donation for our tickets are $5 for 1 ticket, $10 for 3, and $20 for 10. We appreciate you supporting the Republican Liberty Caucus and all the other vendors that are here in the silent auction Giants Miami game member who donated the $1,200 value tickets. Please stop by and get on that silent auction, and also get your tickets, giveaway tickets for the giveaways. Thank you so much and have a blessed day. Thanks for coming and supporting us.
Oh my God, she's walking away with my script. Okay, and now I have the honor of introducing When We Impact the Nation, and that is the bus that is behind us. Susan Trombino is going to come up here and speak. She is the founder of Women Impacting the Nation. She started it as a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping men and women take personal responsibility for their freedoms and to be accountable to God's word in their actions. Susan Trombino holds a strong appreciation for the Judeo-Christian values upon which America was founded. It is her passion to embolden every Christian and American to get involved with saving America's moral compass, and she is proud that her father, mother, and brother have all served in the military with honor. Susan.
My name is Sue Trombino. And first of all, I want to thank Michael for inviting us here. Thank you all for being here. And I want to thank all the veterans because if it wasn't for the veterans, we really wouldn't be here as Americans. But my name is Sue Trombino. I'm the president and founder of We Impact the Nation. This will be 21 years that we've been doing this around the country. And I have one of my board members here with me, Debbie Healy, which I think a lot of you all know her. And so I've got 5 minutes and I'm going to hit 25 subjects in 5 minutes. And so I want you to kind of hang in here with me. But you all are, it's an awesome day to come out here to listen to all the candidates that are here. So I applaud you for being here. A lot of people have sat home and gone and done whatever they need to do, but you all came here to get educated with truth and facts. And so that's really what's really important. But I'm going to ask all of you, are you willing? And as you guys came here, you guys bought tickets. Some of, all the candidates are here. They're running. They're putting their time, their money. But I want to ask all of you here, are you willing to give your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor? I want you to think about that because we at WIN, we educate people all over the country. We work with all the different top groups. But I really like to stir the pot and get you to think because we have become a nation of non-thinkers. And Karl Marx said a nation of non-thinkers is easily led. And unfortunately, we have become, in America, we have become apathetic, disengaged, and disinterested. And I want to ask you, if you continue to become apathetic, disengaged, and disinterested, and you lose America, may I ask you, where do you go from here? Everybody in the world wants to come here. Where do you go? And I want you to think of the things that I'm going to ask you today because these are very important. It's awesome to come here. It's awesome to get educated with truth and facts that we have on our bus. But then you go home and then what do? Faith without action is dead. So what I want to ask you is, first of all, how many people here are Latin or speak Spanish? Can I have a hand of people that speak Spanish here? Is there a lot of people that speak Spanish? Oh, okay, there's a handful here. Okay. Well, I'm going to say something to you because tienes que tener cuidado lo que estás diciendo porque nunca sabes quién está escuchando. Okay? What I just said to people is you better be very careful what you're saying because you never know who's listening. Because you see, I'm coming from a different perspective because I'm from Caracas, Venezuela. Now, you would not know because I look blonde, I'm blue-eyed, and not the sharpest tool in the shed, but, I don't look any more Spanish than the man on the moon. But right now, I was born in Venezuela. I've lived pretty much all over the world in Central South America. I've lived in the Muslim world. And my dad was a 1st Marine Division Guadalcanal. My mom was, like they said before, my mom was a wave in the Navy. And I take America very seriously. And so I'm going to ask all of you, a lot of you are here to help a lot of candidates out, but it's really imperative that you get out and not worry about what your neighbor thinks, your spouse thinks, or whatever. I'm going to read a couple of things here real quick. What I said is, what are you afraid of? Your neighbor, your family, your work, or what others will say? Do you really care what they think? It's really up to you to defend this country. God is not a God. I mean, we are obviously very Christian oriented. We're very Judeo-Christian. And it is not, sorry, I've got so many notes here and I've only got a couple minutes, so I'm trying to go all over the board here. But we are a country that is founded on Judeo-Christian principles. And if you're not willing to stand for what is right, true, and noble, and you lose America, again, where do you go from here? And it's not the question. The real question says, are you going to get educated with humility? Start educating your friends, your neighbors, your family, and what is at stake in this country? Because the Islam issue is a very big deal, but when you get educated with truth and facts, then we ask questions at WIN right now, and we ask, why are you here? What's important to you, and why do you believe the way you believe? And you have to understand those questions because why are you here is great, You're asking the questions, why are you here? But when you leave here, what are you going to do with it? Faith without action is dead. The second question is, what is important to you, not to your spouse, your best friend, your neighbors, your kids, your family, but what really floats your boat? And the third question is, why do you believe the way you believe? Can you articulate why you're Christian, why you're Jewish, why you're atheist, Republican, Democrat? I don't care. 87% of people in this country have no idea why they're Republican or Democrat. They are because their family is their neighbors or spouses. And so, we deal with a lot of pastors, and this is going to go to the one pastor that I just spoke to briefly. But Josh McDowell took 100 pastors and said, why are you a Christian and why are you a pastor? And half of them couldn't tell him. And I've sat with over 380 pastors, and they really shouldn't be behind the pulpit because they're not preaching the whole counsel of God. And in order for us to stay one nation under God, then you're all going to have to step up to the plate. We at WIN, we have a couple of taglines, and one of them is, God is not a God of the majority. He's a God of the minority. Gideon wanted 33,000. He got a whopping 300. Well, you know what? And he was a man. He was really a coward, hiding behind the vat. And but anyway, so we have you have Gideon, who wanted 33,000. He got a whopping 300. We have one woman that took out prayer and Bible out of the school. You have Texas, Iowa, California that became states by one vote. And a madman was put into power by a chancellor, and that was Adolf Hitler. And so I'm going to ask you, what can you do? And our tagline at WIN is 1256-1. There was only 12 disciples. There was only 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. And there was only one Savior/Messiah. What can you do? This place right here can change Florida if you're willing to step up and step out and just talk to all your neighbors, because we're going to lose America. And where are you going to go from here? I've lived all over the world, and there's no place like America. We are not perfect, but we are exceptional. But just remember, when we show up, we win. Please show up. And right now, the last thing I'm going to say is there's a lot of candidates here. You're going to pick the one that's closest to your values up until August. But then after August, we need to come united. We have to put our big girl and big boy panties on and get humble. If you're married, I've been married for 40 some odd years. And you know what? I don't agree with my husband all the time, but we're going to have to come together and vote, and vote for the person. Please vote. Don't get upset. Don't have some humility and swallow your pride if your guy doesn't win or your gal doesn't win. We have got to come together, because if we don't, you're going to lose America. And if you do, where do you go from here? Everybody in the world wants to come here. But just remember, when we show up, we win. But thank you so much. God bless you all.
Wow, that was awesome. Everybody, thanks Sue Trombino for being here today. Amazing, and bringing this bus to us. We appreciate it.
If tomorrow all the things were gone, work for all my life, I had to start again. Just my children, thank my lucky stars to be living here today. 'Cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away. Hey. And I'm proud to be an American, where it is. No, I'm free, and I won't forget the man who gave that right to me. And I got to you, and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
We are so lucky that we have Born to Ride with 45 here. And we actually have the president who lives here in Florida, George Colella. Born to Ride for 45 is a Florida-based grassroots biker organization with additional chapters around the United States, and they have been riding for President Trump since he announced that he was running for office in 2015. The president of Born to Ride, George.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction too. Appreciate that. Hey, Maverick, great job. He's known as Maverick to me. Yo, Mike, that's Maverick. He shoots like a Maverick. Anyway, it's a pleasure for me to be here. I'd like to thank all the candidates that are here. Jay, Bobby, whoever else is here. There's a man right there that's in a wheelchair. That when I was there January 6th, he came up to us by the railing and says, thanks for being here. And because he did that, Pelosi attacked him. I just want to let everybody know about the information. The other thing that's very important is about Florida. Florida was the first state that tried to take Donald J. Trump off of the ballot, for the presidential ballot. A lot of people didn't know that. That's exactly what happened in Florida. We have a situation that every candidate that's here are great. The thing is, I would appreciate everybody from effing, can't say the whole word, trashing people. Doesn't pay to trash. As she said before, when the voting happens, we all got to stick together. I don't want to hear no shit about what they call. I'm not going to vote for them. I didn't like them. What do you do? Vote for a Democrat? And if you don't vote for the Republican, it's like vote for a Democrat. Democrats want this state in the worst way. They are drooling for the state. They're going to dump a lot of money into the state. Everybody's worried about data centers. Nobody worried about all the mosques that were built here. When I came down here in 2012, I'm a World Trade Center survivor, so that's why it made me very interested about mosque. So when I came down here in 2012, there were only 60 mosques. Now there's over 200. Everybody paying attention? Everybody's keeping their eye off the ball, exactly what's going on with the state of Florida. Okay? Very important. We have 480 acres of solar farm. Right? All those panels were made, 90% of them were made in China. The windmills, we don't have any of them yet. But I drove around a lot of the state. I got about almost 380,000 miles since I started with Trump on my motorcycle. I didn't keep the same one. I decided to trade them every once in a while. But she brought up something very important about the news and television. Television was invented in 1949, believe it or not. It took them 3 years to come out with the name. And if you put the name together, television, do you understand that? They're going to tell you a vision. It's the biggest enemy to the people in America. Programming, same thing. Programming. Exactly programming you, exactly how to combine your mind into this technology. So don't worry about the data centers too much because they're coming out with cooling systems like nitrogen. They're not going to use water. And the power, they got these little turbines that are running on nuclear submarines that are going to power them up. They're working on all this stuff. But you got to get to what's important, what's happening in Florida. With the Muslim communication, Muslims infestation that's coming here in Florida and all over the United States. We cannot look the other way. This is very important. They don't believe in the Bible. If they follow the Quran, they want us all destroyed. There's no ifs, ands about it. So since I traveled throughout the United States and also Florida, they put a lot of these solar panels hidden behind trees that people don't see them. And you may be surprised what you see on a motorcycle when you're riding. So yes, I did ride for President Trump from the beginning of the time he came down that escalator. I knew he was the one. Hey, Cawthorn, I just spoke about you. This is the man here that came by I was standing there right by the rail on January 6th. And he came over. He was the only one that came over and says, George, thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here. That's a true patriot right there. Right? Got Jay Collins, veteran, good man. Bobby Williams grows not only potatoes, but tomatoes. But we have to keep our farmland. It's very important. I got copies of the Constitution that I want to give out to the candidates so they could sign them and promise to keep up. And we have any Vietnam veterans here? Any Vietnam veterans here? Well, if you see a Vietnam veteran, I know there's one here before. He's in the back there talking. Yo, Vietnam vet! You tell him when you see him. Oh, stand up there. Could you stand up? Welcome home, brother. Appreciate you. Thank you. When they came home, they weren't welcome home. They were spat on and a whole bunch of stuff because I was down there and I looked at this stuff. It was unbelievable. And look at the generation now these colleges are doing. We have so much pain in the country. It's unbelievable. With these socialist communists. We got commies little by little coming in, and we have to fight. Trust me, we got to fight against Islam. We got to fight. I think the DHS and the FBI should go to every mosque and vet them as they come out. Because a lot of them came here. There's a total of 7 million in the United States. Sorry, I got a little COPD from those two beautiful buildings. So, we have to worry about what's going on, not only here in Florida, but throughout the United States. And we have to support all these candidates. And again, that's very important. Whoever wins the primary, please vote for the winner. Doesn't matter, because we have to get a Republican as a governor. There's no ifs, ands, or buttons. Even Congress has to be. We have to keep control of the House. Even if some guys are rhinos, you gotta have to vote for them. Okay, so this is how we're gonna keep control. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Follow us on. What? Okay. It's my birthday today. I made the sacrifice to come here. This is how I celebrated my birthday. Because I made. Thank you. Hey, Rick. Thank you. The whole thing is, I made a commitment to Maverick, or Mike, Maverick, that I was going to come here and speak no matter what. Plus, we wrote me. Now ran 2.5 hours on that bike. It's very, very hot, very sweaty. So, thanks again. I appreciate you. Please do not forget how important this election is. And please stop with the effing trick. I wish the kids weren't here because stop with the F. I'll use the letter. I come from Brooklyn, so it's very hard for me to control myself. And I came from Little Italy. Then, in fact, I put a picture of Randami with half a head of a pig bed to make him understand why he skipped Little Italy. But these are the things that we have to pay attention to. What God has ordained will happen. Amen.
By the way, he's also known as the Godfather. That's actually a fact. I'm going to go a little off script here, a little out of order. What I'm going to do now is ask Pastor Rick Stevens to come up, and after that, we're going to begin with our keynote speakers, and then I will be going back to some other people that need to speak as well before having Madison and John up here. Okay, so first of all, without Pastor Rick, this event would not have happened. It was scheduled to be at a marina, and at the last second, they reneged on us. And Pastor Rick, who has always just been all about community, said, absolutely, you can have it at my church. So let me just tell you a little bit about him. First of all, I've known him for a really long time, and he is somebody that I hold in extremely high regard. He has served as a pastor in churches as far west as Oklahoma and as far east as New Brunswick, Canada, and a few places in between before calling Diplomat Wesleyan his home back in 1987. Additionally, he is the co-founder of an organization called Florida's Citizen Alliance. They go to Tallahassee and fight on behalf of children's rights with the law. Okay, so they're looking to find real solutions that maximize every student's potential and serves to protect children. It is with great pleasure and honor that I get to introduce Pastor Rick Stevens.
Well, thank you, everyone. It's kind of unusual to be introduced in my own place, don't you think? Instead, I just want to welcome you here. We're glad to have you here. We appreciate you coming. I think it's wonderful that the church can become the center of community conversation. You know, it used to be that way. It hasn't been so much in recent years, but I think that's wonderful. And I want to also say, from the bottom of my heart, to all of the candidates, that I appreciate so much your willingness to put yourself out there. I learned some years ago how much it takes, not because I've ever been a candidate. The Lord has delivered me from that. But I have observed what it takes to be a candidate, and it takes a lot. And I appreciate every candidate who puts themselves out there. It makes a huge difference for all of us. And I want to say thank you. Also, look around. You may not be aware, but you will be now. You are standing on holy ground. I don't say that because I know you agree with me. I say that because you are standing on holy ground. And I'm convinced that God has a message for us today, and maybe more than one, but I brought one from him that I want you to take to heart, because I think it's very important. Now, I know we have a lot of conversations about a lot of things, and people wonder, how can pastors be involved in things politically? Well, I always think about it as my citizenship responsibility, and I challenge everybody to think about being involved because you're a citizen. And the things that the people we elect to office do will affect you and all of our neighbors. So I think we should be concerned about it. But a lot of times people say to me, look at what's going on in the country. What can I do? I think a lot of those people really mean, what can somebody else do? Or what will they do for me? But today, I want to give you two things that you at first will probably disagree and say, well, that won't make any difference. But I challenge you to think about it more carefully. And I think this is God calling all of us today. Some years ago, I followed a musical group that you may never have heard of called Regeneration. It was started by a fellow Wesleyan pastor out of Southern California. One of the consequences of that was that you may have heard of Voices of Liberty that regularly performs at Epcot in Disney World. One of the songs that this gentleman wrote, his name was Derek Johnson, was a song of unity. And some of the words were like this: let's all get together in America. Well, that's a pretty easy line, but isn't that what people are asking today? Why are we so divided? And how can we not be so divided? Good. So how can we get together in America? Well, people sometimes talk about God in flowery language, and we have arguments over, are we a Christian nation or are we not? And I think God is looking out over the balcony of heaven and saying, why are you arguing about that? Just be that. Because in the song it says a line that you've heard many times. It's not if God's on our side. It's if we are on his. And that's the challenge for you and me today. Are you on his side? And what can we do to make a difference? Two things. Some of you will not be surprised. All of you should take this to heart. When I hear people talk eloquently about God, I want to ask them, were you in church last Sunday? And I want to ask you, were you in church last Sunday? See, if we're going to unite the country, if we're going to have God's blessing, he's watching, and we're on holy ground, the first thing that we need to do is we need to determine we will be in church every week. I notice that's not an applause line. Okay? But it should be something we take to heart. If we want God's blessing, we have to be on God's side. Second thing is this. A lot of you would not be surprised that a pastor would walk around with a Bible. So I brought one. I imagine you have more than one at your house. I have more than one at my study. I have more than one at my house. And I have a lot of them. But here's my second question for you. When's the last time you picked it up and read it purposefully and carefully? This is a supernatural book, and I will tell you something that some of you will not believe, and maybe a few of you will practice. It won't happen the first week, may not happen the second week, but it will happen. Your life will change if you will purposefully and intentionally pick up your Bible 4 times a week. Now, I'm not counting Sunday. That would be cheating. We're supposed to be at church on Sunday anyway, right? Right. Are you going to be this weekend? Yes. But if you will take your Bible and pick a translation that you understand and appreciate, read the Bible 4 times every week. And if you get to Friday and say, oh, I forgot, then do it 4 times on Friday. But do it 4 times every week, week in and week out. And your life will change and the country will change. What can we do? Show up to church, engage the Bible 4 times a week, and you will be amazed at what happens to you and what happens to the world. We can be those people. I hope you will. Oh, by the way, if you want to come to our church, 10 o'clock in the morning, see you there.
He's just so awesome. Let's love that man. I have the privilege of introducing the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Florida, Jay Collins, who is now running for governor in the state of Florida. Jay is a retired U.S. Army Green Beret who served more than 23 years in the military. He was seriously wounded in combat in Afghanistan and ultimately lost a leg. Yet he returned to active duty and continued serving for several more years before retiring. He served as a Florida state representative after winning in 2022, and then in August of 2025, Governor Ron DeSantis appointed him as Lieutenant Governor. Let's give a warm welcome to Lieutenant Governor Jay Collins.
Well, good afternoon. How are y'all doing today? Good? All right. Well, it's great to be here. Now, how many of you woke up grateful this morning to be a citizen of these United States of America? Last I checked, the advertising was America 250 here, right? Have you ever stopped and thought about how far our nation has come? We should do that every day. Look at where we are. We live in the greatest state, in the greatest country in the history of our world. We are right here living our best lives. I wake up grateful every single day, and I've seen most of the world. Wouldn't trade a single thing I've been through to be here today serving our people. You know, I want to tell you just a little bit about where I came from. I think it's important. And I want to talk about great things, things that matter in America, in Florida, and right here at home for many of you. Long before I was the 21st Lieutenant Governor, long before I was an Army Green Beret, I'm the son of a failed farmer. So people often ask me, why do you work so hard? Because my dad taught me to. You see, when you grow up working hard, planting seeds and pulling it out of the ground and trying to work to feed your family and the people around you, it just hits a little different. But like many people in the early 80s, the economy was rough coming out of the Carter years. We lost our farm. We did. And we moved on with our lives. And everything that happens now is a byproduct of what could have been. I would have been the 3rd generation in our farm. You know, I grew up on welfare because of that. I was born to a 16-year-old kid, and my grandparents adopted me and raised me on that farm, and they brought me to town. I share that not to cry in my Cheerios. I share that because it's not where you come from in America. It's what you do with where you come from. I served 23 years as an Army Green Beret from the majority of that time. Yes, I got shot. It's completely overrated. Yes, I did surgery on myself. I think I'm still the only Green Beret to ever do that in combat. I did get hit by a mortar. I did fall about 20 feet. I did break my back. And I did requalify as a Green Beret and serve 5 more years. But I'd do it all again. Now I get asked almost every day, why on earth are you not just retired drinking Mai Tai somewhere? You know what? Because look around us right here. Florida's not just a state. Florida is our people. The United States of America is something worth fighting for. When I signed that oath to serve our nation up to the last full measure, it never expires. And it matters more now than ever. You see, we run into problems as a people when we forget our principles, our values. We have to stand on principles to drive policy. Our policy can't change our principles. That's the biggest difference. And that is why Florida has been successful under Governor Ron DeSantis. That has been the biggest difference here. You see, when he handpicked me to be his lieutenant governor, we talked about a lot of things. Did you know that Florida is the only state with a combat veteran as governor and lieutenant governor in the United States of America right now? Can you believe that? So we talked about service, and we talked about sacrifice, and we talked about why. And my why is exactly the same. The hardest thing I ever did, it wasn't getting shot. I'm going to quote my good friend, Ben here. He's the guy with no legs, the other Green Beret over there. Together we have a lot of spare parts. It's fun. That day, that doesn't define who we are. It's everything else. The hardest thing I've ever done is when I had to talk to a mom, a wife, or a child who lost their dad, their husband, or their son because they paid that full price. We are the land of the free because of the sacrifice of the few and the dedication of the brave. May we never forget how valued that is. May we never forget where we come from. And may we never forget that it is, it was, and it always must be worth fighting for right here every day. And so when Governor DeSantis handpicked me to be his lieutenant governor, you know what he said? It's pretty clear. He said, Jay is day one ready. He can step in and lead this state right now, no questions asked, or I wouldn't put him there. When the greatest governor in our state's history says something like that, it means something. Stop and take a thought just for a second about where I came from. Only in a state like Florida and in a country as great as this can a poor kid from a broken family raised on welfare be here today as the 21st Lieutenant Governor of Florida. The American dream is alive and well in Florida. God is good every day. But you asked about reading the Bible. You've also got to remind yourself of a few things. Our freedoms come from God. They're upheld by our Constitution. And friends, it's not the government's money, it's yours. We want you to keep more of it. We fight for limited government every single day, but it's not going to happen on its own. When I jumped into this race a few months back, I was at about 4 years in politics. To say that's improbable is an understatement. I have gone from not in politics to a state senator where I passed 55 bills in 3 years, like constitutional carry, banning China from buying our land, codifying prayer in sports, and making sure we taught the truth on socialism and communism. We don't have to take that for a test drive here. And as lieutenant governor, I have been across the entire state day in and day out. Why? Because leadership isn't talking about things on Fox News. It's not ripping it off on a mean Twitter rampage. It's being on the ground where lives are on the line, where good decisions save lives, make a difference, and build a greater state and nation. It's where our people are. That is why Governor DeSantis appointed me. That is why I'm in politics. I'm not a career politician. I never will be. I'm a warrior. I'm a protector. And my job, the first job of any governor, the one that I love the most, is to protect our people and our way of life and make sure that we leave it better for the next generation. Otherwise, why are we doing this? You see, we have a responsibility as citizens of these United States to protect and preserve the things we love and hold to be true and self-evident for our kids, just like our forefathers did for us. That is a solemn oath, a responsibility, and it's something that I take lightly. So what are we going to focus on? The number one thing I get asked about everywhere I go is simple. It's affordability. You know, we got to make sure the left doesn't define that, guys. We really do. The American dream can never devolve to just being good enough or just getting by. That's not the America we fought for. That's not what I want my children to have. I want them to have a better future, a better life, and dream bigger dreams than I ever thought possible. I know that's what you want to see too. That means building better jobs, deregulating, and get the government out of the way. Remembering that less government is the solution to most problems. If the government comes knocking, you should be afraid, right? They're not here to solve your problems. And I'm in the government saying that, okay? Let me wrap this thing up, and I guess we're going to have a meet and greet here in a little bit. You're going to have a lot of choices in this election. I would ask you to look at three things. One, research for yourself. Dig in. Understand who they are, what they say, and what goes on. There's a lot of nonsense out there in the real world. And everything we do to destroy people's reputations, everything we do in politics to hurt others, it aids the Democrats. They want to make sure that Florida is in play. The truth is, look for someone who has a track record of success. Have they been successful where they've been? Did they say what they mean? Did they mean what they say? And did they follow through and get things done? Number two, where were they when things went sideways? You know, I remind myself about a year ago when Israel and Iran kicked off, we got calls from hundreds and then thousands of Americans, primarily Floridians, because they were trapped in the Middle East. I didn't get on Fox News. I didn't. I got on a plane on the day before Father's Day and flew from Tampa to Cyprus, Cyprus to Jordan. And in Jordan, we did cross-border operations with a few guys like me and brought home 2,300 American citizens. I didn't talk about it. I did it. When I tell you we fed 14.5 million meals after hurricanes, wildfires, and tornadoes, I did. I was out there handing them out every single day along with my people. It was a blessing and an honor to stand there on something that used to be a home and give someone a hand up and tell them I can't fix everything, but I love you, I'm here for you, and I want if I can to feed your family and just have some fellowship right here, right now. Leadership isn't talking about it. It's serving the people forward where the problems lie. Pick somebody who you know will be there when the chips are down. The last thing is this. Where does their moral compass point? Does it point to them, their money, their best interest? Or is it going to point to you? Find someone who will prioritize the people of Florida first, foremost, and always. We'll never apologize for putting Florida first, America first. That is our job. That's what we do. God bless each of you. God bless Florida, and God bless the United States of America. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Now I know what it's like to decide that you're going to run for office, because when I believe they stole the election from President Trump, I said to my husband, I need to do more. And I was just a nobody, and I ran for school board in 2022. So I appreciate all those people that have come and stepped up to run as well. And with that being said, I have the pleasure of introducing yet another governor candidate who is with us today, Bobby Williams. Bobby Williams has a ministry background. His desire to minister led him to begin an initiative called the Freedom Tour, which he uses to help family in need. When he started it started as a small mission 10 years ago, and it's grown into a entity that can distribute over 1 million pounds of essential goods to families and communities at no cost to them. He's a third-generation Floridian, and he recognizes that he's not a politician, but he's somebody who is running who will not be influenced by special interests, elected officials, or donors. Everybody, please welcome Bobby Williams.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. We are one nation under what? We got to get God back in government and God back in our schools. Can I get amen to that? We have lost our moral compass as a nation. All these guys get up here and they say it. What's the issue and what's the problem is our moral compass. We got to have godly character back in our nation, back in our state. There's two things that fix everything. Number one is godly character. If you got true godly character, and I'm going to talk about that here today, because it's Matthew 7:16, you'll know them by their fruit. It'll get rid of the waste, the fraud, the corruption, the backdoor deals. That fixed 90% of our problems. The other one is called common sense. How about that one? And unfortunately, we live in a country and a nation that's far and few between. So I just want to tell you a little bit about myself as a policy. I'm a third generation Floridian. Why does that matter? Because we see New York and people and government and development destroying Florida. So to me, my message preserve Florida. My mother was 14 when she had me, or my brother, she was 17 when she had me. I was very poor. But just like everybody else, the American dream is possible, but almost there's a non-reality in it. So at the age of 25, I started a business, got married, had a little girl. By the time I was 30, I was very successful in the business. We were doing 7 figures, everything going good, I thought. Big house, fancy cars, everything you think the American dream is, but I was empty and void. I didn't grow up in church. I wasn't raised in church. Nobody never really told me about Jesus. I was raised, unfortunately, a heathen. Did a lot of bad things and just lived for myself. You know, it ain't bad things, but that's just selfish. And everything wasn't going right. But at 32, I had an encounter with Jesus, radically changed my life. And I came home and done what every Christian should do and does, is go to church. The problem is the next 4 to 5 years going to church, I learned what not to do. Church don't do nothing. You come in, you hear a message, you go home. The drug dealer's still out there selling drugs. The addict's on the street. The prostitute's down here. Crime is still in this area. Everything still happens. And the government is no different than church. They'll sit in the room. They'll talk about all the issues. They'll talk about all the problems. They'll even raise money and throw money at it. But whatever happens, nothing. The money goes in the wrong places, goes in the wrong pockets. Things start going wrong. Same issues, same problems, same circle over and over again. So for me, I'm the American because I had enough. So in 2016, I started a ministry called the Freedom Tour. I started going to the projects, the hoods, where I know the crime rate is bad. And we started praying for these people, loving on them, and just blessing them, giving them free food, free stuff, doing block parties like this, and inviting them and loving on them and hugging them and telling them their life matters. That somebody cares for them, that somebody's willing to come up and show them. Because I didn't have to be there. I could be like every other American. I could be on vacation, hunting and fishing, doing all this stuff. But instead, I decided whether it was my birthday or Father's Day, it didn't matter. I was in the hood, in the projects, out there loving people and being a blessing. Because what changes life is one thing. His name is Jesus. Amen? And that's where we got to get back to as a nation. So Lieutenant Governor said before, he's like, what happens when things go sideways? Matthew 7:16 is you'll know them by their fruit. I said that before. When pressure comes, it shows what's on the inside, right? So what was the biggest one we had the last couple of years? Called COVID, right? So COVID, everybody shut down. Store shelves were empty. I made a decision because the Lord told me to pastor a church in 2018 in one of the worst areas ever, and I'll get in that story. But on COVID, I decided this. You know what? We're going to go out in this parking lot. We're going to feed people. We started feeding 1,500 people a day. Started praying for people and loving people and doing the blessings. So in a time the country said we got to shut down, I made a point. We're going to go out here. We're going to bless. Since COVID to now, I've been blessed to move over 100 million pounds of product. If you had to buy that, 350 million gift in kind. What separates me from all these other politicians, all these other guys was this. I watched my business, not because I'm not a good business guy. I watched my business go down to less than 300,000 last year because it wasn't about making money. It was about touching and changing people's lives and getting Florida back to where Florida needs to be. Can I get amen? What is the biggest thing Florida struggles with? It's called hurricanes, right? Where were all these guys when the hurricanes hit? Hurricane Michael hit 2019. I teamed up with a motorcycle club. They were ex-military veteran guys out of the Panhandle. They're actually all over Florida. They called me and said, we got 10 brothers in need. I had 2 trailers loaded up, 2 trucks full of generators. We went up there and worked with all of them, and they're all military guys. It was so cool to watch every one of these communities we went into. Motorcycle club guys, these military guys were the hub of their communities. But they were struggling because they didn't have the water, didn't have generators. They were doing everything they could with what they had. We showed up and we helped them. And we stayed there and we kept going back to where the point was nobody was down at Mexico Beach. We ended up putting a 75 by 100 tent on Mexico Beach and we stayed there for 5 months. When the cameras left, we stayed there. And I continue to do that. Hurricane Ian come through here. I personally, my ministry, little bitty ministry and a little bitty community, 6.5 million pounds into Hurricane Ian. We had a semi or a box truck coming down here every day, sending generators, reaching out. What's the need? As they told us the need, we made it happen. And we watched God work. That's my character. That's who I am. That's the reason why a lot of these issues and problems, these other guys are just talking around the points. The point is the governor can fix a lot of your issues and problems today. We're in an unaffordability state right now. I'm a conservative Republican, but why are we in this situation if we have a Republican majority? What's their fruit? What are they doing? The governor himself can take people out of seats who ain't doing the right deal. You know, every time the electrical company, utility company goes to increase, you know how many times they get it? About every time. You know how many times they get told no? Why? They're donating to these campaigns. They're buying these seats. Insurance companies. It ain't just insurance companies. It's that even the board, the governor appoints. To me, if you're saying yes every time as these people are struggling, we got to get rid of it. And number three, you got lawyers that are a big issue. We got to put laws in place to get these lawyers to quit raping and pillaging part of the problem. Because a lot of times, we said insurance companies, we think insurance companies that we need a greater market. They'll talk about a greater market, right? So one of my slogans, do not New York my Florida. And one reason why they do that is they use New York businesses, that kind of stuff. Their strategy is monopolization. They monopolize everything. Instead of, oh, we need a greater market. So these big congregations create 5 or 10 more businesses. Second person making the money, but it's a different business, different identity, and they're still raping and pillaging us. We have to look at that. We got to look at what is the fruit of these companies. What are they doing? You know, there's a lot of things that can happen. Reason why you have the insurance rates going out right now ain't just insurance companies. There's so much to that. A lot of it's your bankers and your financial companies. They're forcing you to have insurance. And because they're forcing you into policy. We got to make the standard back to them to change a lot of their policies to where we can invest in ourselves. We can have our own insurance. We can put our own money in accounts. We can do our own things. Right? Because ultimately what happens, people says, well, what if a major hurricane hits and we lose everything? Has the insurance company ever bailed anybody out? They just pack up and leave. There's no accountability. We got to start putting people in handcuffs. They're raping and pillaging Florida. We got to have accountability. And one of them accountability is called voter fraud. Voter fraud needs to be treason on our country. 20 years minimum sentence. If we start doing things like that, these people will quit stealing our election. It's so important. There's a lot of things, that simple things, common sense that can change. I'm for no property tax. 2 reasons. Number one, I deal with widows and less fortunate people every day that are struggling. What gives the government right to take a house away from you? It's the greatest investment you ever had. But the number two is the most important one is, you see Blazing Goliath right now running across the state, doging the state, wasting hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. What has changed? I can tell you what's changed. He said this a couple of weeks ago in Kissimmee. He says, I went to Jacksonville a year ago. They were 175 million waste and fraud. He went a couple of weeks ago. You know what they did? You think they fixed the problem? 300 million. So my answer to this is like this. If you got a 12-year-old spoiled, rotten kid who has access to mommy and daddy's credit card, when will they ever quit spending? We see the waste and the fraud, right? Till we pull this money away from them, it won't change. We got to get back to we the people. Can I get amen? Because currently, right now, we the lobbyists and we the big corporations. You don't even have a voice. Everywhere I go, I have county commissioners, mayors, city commissioners coming up to me. Home rule's been stolen away. They have no voice. They have no nothing. And it's all coming from the administration. We got to have somebody that's going to fight for the people. Amen.
Walking with you.
We got to get back to we the people. I'm going to wrap it up with this. One of the biggest issues and problems I want to see it fixed as our governor is this. It's called tax. We need to get rid of the tax. We got to quit allowing these seats to be bought in and voted in. And the only way we're going to do that is having a governor that's going to fight we the people, and get rid of these PACs, get rid of the waste, get rid of the corruption, and it goes back to godly character and common sense. Bobby Williams, Florida Governor. Love y'all. Be blessed. Have a great day.
Wow. So anybody that knows me knows that I do a lot of research on PACs and a lot of research on campaign contributions and from builders and developers. And if anybody wants to see the chart of people in Lee County that are taking money from builders and developers and PACs, it's on the table right over there. Help yourself. Okay. Without further ado, the next candidate coming to the stage is Matt Taylor, perhaps better known as Matt the Welder. And he is running for state agriculture commissioner. To be bluntly honest, Matt is somebody that I have personally followed for months now, watching his videos on water, air, land, and agriculture. He has a vast knowledge in the area of agriculture, which also means having a vast knowledge in the chemicals that move from that agriculture into our waterways. Is Matt around? Oh, there he is. Sorry, Matt. Okay. Matt's dedication is to protecting rural farmland as he is concerned about overdevelopment. Welcome, Matt the Welder. AKA.
How are we doing, everybody? I want to say thank you for coming out. There's way better things you could be doing in Lee County right now, like taking out your boat. But instead, y'all came out here to listen to a bunch of people running for candidates running for office. And you braved the Florida heat to do it, too. Thankfully, we got some clouds to try to cool things down. I'm running for ag commissioner, as they said, in the state of Florida. It's a very important job. And before I decided to run for it, nobody knew what the job entailed. They didn't know who the current ag commissioner was. And if you don't know what the job is and who he was, how do you know if he's doing a good job or not? What we found out is the current ag commissioner is a real estate developer who identifies as a chicken farmer. That's very problematic when we're trying to push back against development, to have folks in position of power that have real estate interest in their backgrounds. A very simple saying: how can you be America first, Florida first, or even Lee County first if you can't call out corruption in your own party? By definition, your party first. And the Republican Party of Florida is not immune from corruption. No party is. And it doesn't make you a bad guy to call out corruption. It may make you a bad guy for a handful of people that might be doing the corruption, but I promise you it is worth it for the state of Florida and as our country to take it back if we start calling out the corruption, the conflict of interest, and the backdoor deals that are happening. The Office of Agriculture is way more than just crops and cattle. It's consumer services. It's the Office of Energy. It's the Division of Forestry. The Consumer Services encompasses the Division of Licensing. Anything the bureaucrats didn't know what to do with, they threw it under the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. So we need to clean up that bureaucracy. We need to come in and audit that bureaucracy. It's $1 billion budget right now, and as far as I can see, we're not getting our money's worth out of it. I want to go ahead and start reining in some of the pesticide use that we are seeing in the state of Florida. They're spraying it in our waterways. Nobody agrees with the FWC spray program, and the Department of Agriculture has the unique ability to unregister pesticides in the state of Florida. Right now, Anna Paluna is trying to introduce a bill to prohibit paraquat in the United States. In the state of Florida, we can unregister that chemical, and there's good reason to do that. It's causing neurological conditions to the farmers and the people that use it, yet we still allow them to spray it. Some of these companies are like Syngenta. They make Tribune, which is commonly sprayed into our waterways. These chemicals are manufactured by ChemChina. So we're using chemicals overseas that aren't allowed in any other country, but we're using them right here to spray our waterways. And in some cases, we are using that water for our municipal drinking water. The overdevelopment has become such a problem that everybody is talking about it now. They can no longer avoid it. I didn't do that. You folks did. You folks are scaring the establishment. I'm just the vessel in which you're using. They couldn't ignore us. And when you guys pile into a meeting and you say, we don't want data centers, we don't want overdevelopment, that's how we take back our communities. We start at the local level, work our way up to the state level, and then we do it at the national level. But we have to realize the problems are on the left and the right. If you've been in office for 20 years and you're still blaming the other party, you are the problem. We can all agree that the world is less Mitch McConnell's, less Wilton Simpson, less Nancy Pelosi's, and less Chuck Schumer. Some folks will say we need a blue wave or a red wave. The truth is we need a new wave to flush Tallahassee. And the only way we can do that is if we elect folks that haven't been career politicians their entire life, because it appears career politicians have gotten very crafty at moving money around and benefiting themselves. The Project Tango data center is owned by a fellow named Enrique Tomei. The state of Florida just spent $9 million last year to purchase a conservation easement called Savoni Ranch, which was owned by Enrique Tomei. He's a president of one of the companies that is involved in Project Tango. It appears the state of Florida in a roundabout way just subsidized a data center using conservation land. And when it comes to conservation land, that's a cabinet position. The Department of Agriculture, the Attorney General, the CFO, and the governor all decide how our tax dollars are spent on conservation land. Most notably, the $83 million 4-acre sandbar up in Destin that we purchased. It offers no conservation for the state of Florida. It doesn't preserve any land from scrub jays or any endangered species. The only one that got rewarded was the prominent GOP donor, Robert Guidry. I think we should rename Doge to Deals Only Guidry enjoy, because we didn't get any benefit out of it. And when you see our tax monies purchasing land and you're watching the Florida Panther get run over in record numbers right now, that money should have been used right here in Lee County. It should have been right in Southwest Florida to conserve conservation land and not reward donors. We need to do a better oversight, and we need to make sure we, the people, get heard on our conservation land. Because at the end of the day, it's our tax dollars, and they're telling us there's nothing they could do. If your county commissioner, if your state rep, if they're not talking about the problems that face Florida and they're trying to distract you with the DC clown show talking points, find a new rep, find a new county commissioner that understands the problems to Florida, because they're very unique. And if you can't find somebody that understands the problems of Florida, get out there and run for office yourself. It's so easy, even a welder can do it. We live in the greatest country on earth. If your government's not working for you, you have the ability to run for office, and we can take back control of our government. The lobbyists, all of the special interests, the developers, they don't have the ability to vote. While they can donate and spend a lot of money on political advertisements and smear campaigns, only we, the people, can get out there and vote this August. The most important election facing Florida is the primary, August 18th. And get your neighbors out there. Get them registered to vote. Don't argue about me or any other politician that you've seen on this stage today. There's better ways to ruin a family dinner. Normally, alcohol's a pretty good one. The next morning, everybody forgets what they were mad about. And just get them out there, get them registered to vote. Make sure they know that Florida is a closed primary, and you have to be registered with a party to have a side. So if you're NPA, you have to either be registered as a Republican or a Democrat to vote in the primary. And if you want to switch from a Democrat to vote in a Republican primary, preferably for me, you can still vote in the general election for anybody else on the other side. The general election, you don't have to be registered with the party. But for the primary, if you want to say in the primary, get out there, make sure you're registered to vote, make sure your neighbors are registered to vote, you folks at church, and don't argue. Hey, like I said, we have way better ways to ruin family dinners. Just make sure you know how the process works, make sure your neighbors know how the process works. And when it comes to political advertisement, don't trust your buddy Joe. Do the research yourself. The most important website in the state of Florida that every voter should know how to operate and navigate is the Florida Department of State Division of Elections, where you can go on there and look up the political committees and the donations for yourself. That way you're not taking anybody else's words for it. All political committees is a bank account with a really deceptive name. At the end of the day, that's all it is. And when we watch these political committees and all of the money that could be used for the good of we the people in Florida, the idea I have to pay for property tax and for homestead exemption, because we tax the tax. We tax the political committees and we get that money back and we use it for good for us. We're having problems with water in the state of Florida. We're running out, yet we're approving data centers. We're approving new developments that have concrete lagoons for Metro, for the 7-acre lagoons. And then we have companies like Mosaic the fertilizer company that is permitted to pull 70 million gallons a day out of our aquifer. Well, our water bills continue to go up and up and up, and taxpayers are forced to find alternative sources for water. The big companies are getting tax breaks. Mosaic in Hillsborough County has Lithia Springs Park. If I was a taxpayer, I'd go to that park and have to pay $2 to get in and $2 extra to swim in the springs. Because they're letting the county use it as a park, Mosaic is not paying any tax bills on that 100 acres. We're picking it up as tax bills, as taxpayers. There's a number of ways to pay for no property tax for homestead exemption, and it's about time we the people say, hey, start taxing all of the developers. Let's renegotiate our greenbelt laws. Pat Neal's not liked in this county either, right? I didn't think he was. I haven't found many fans of Pat Neal. Pat Neal has mastered the greenbelt laws. And there's an exemption that allows developers and land speculators to purchase agriculture land, run cattle on it. As they're pulling the permits, drawing up the next community, they are getting an agriculture tax break for our farmers that was designed for our farmers. And it is costing us millions of dollars, and Pat Neal has mastered it. He purchased a piece of property up in Sarasota, $2 million, declared greenbelt, navigated it, and he cut his tax bill down to about $1,200 a year. So we're struggling to try to pay our tax bills as they continue to go up and up and up, and they're looking for ways of how to fund no property tax for homestead exemption. The way we do that is we start making the developers, the special interests, pay property taxes on their land. Nestle takes a lot of money to put it in a bottle of water. We're struggling to find alternative sources, and when you look at the permits for the withdrawal, it's like $150 that they have to pay one time and have to renew it every so many years. As Floridians, we have to start waking up and realizing the lobbyists are donating to both sides. That way, if a Democrat gets in, they're covered. We have to wake up and realize they're distracting us using the two-party system. Both sides, they work for the same lobbyists, the same special interest, and they're dividing us from our neighbors and making us hate our neighbors. When I was a kid in Hillsborough County, in Northwest Hillsborough, we didn't know how our neighbors voted. We didn't know if they were Democrat. We didn't know if they were Republican, but we did know if they needed help. My other neighbor's tractor was my tractor. And we need to get back to that, to where we stop blaming our neighbors for our problems, because the problems are actually the special interests, the developers, and the PACs. Thank you. I got the gift of gab. I could probably go on way longer, but I don't want to take up anybody else's time, because I know it's hard for the local candidates to get out here and speak. But the biggest thing from today, make sure you know how to vote. Make sure you know how the primary works, and throw those mailers in the trash, because he who has the most mailers has sold their soul. Thank you, guys.
That is a fact. And the mailers do say that they come from PACs. So when they're bashing somebody, toss them. Okay, we went out of order to accommodate some schedules. So let me tell you the order of things. In a minute, we're going to have Colonel Steve Epkins come back up. He's going to take 5 minutes. Then we're going to have IGYC, come up and explain what they do. I know, I keep messing it up, but they're going to, because it's really important what they do. And then after that, we're going to have the Charlie Kirk Legacy Project come up. 3 minutes apiece, please. And then after that, Michael Thompson, who's running for Congress in District 22, is going to come up for a few minutes, and then we will move on to John Strand and Madison Cawthorn. Okay, so Colonel Epkins.
All right. In essence of time, I've already cut 6 pages out of mine, so you only need to be applauding right now, okay? But I was asked to talk about the military and freedom. One of the greatest lessons the military teaches us is freedom depends on people who are willing to place themselves first. When you serve, freedom has a very special personal cost. It means leaving behind family and friends, missing birthdays, anniversaries, holidays. It means spending months or years in places where dangers can be a daily companion. It means accepting that someone who stands beside you today may not be standing alongside you tomorrow. You carry the responsibility for your mission, your team, and your country. You learn that freedom is not just a right, it's a responsibility to act with integrity, courage, and honor. Freedom is not just something you enjoy. It is something that you uphold. It is something that you defend. It is something that you pass on. It is about doing what is right, even when it is hard. What I will share with you now are some of my opinions on what veterans need and like to see. As veterans, I believe that we all are owed the best health care that the Veterans Administration can provide to those of us who have served. We enjoy being thanked on Veterans Day for our service. We enjoy it when folks say thank you for your service. On Memorial Day, one thing I hate to hear is Happy Memorial Day. Because let me tell you, it's not a happy day. It's a day that I remember all of those that didn't come home with me. Just like when I go near the Vietnam War or Vietnam Veterans Memorial, I don't go near the wall because I'm not looking for those names. I know those names. Okay? And I think about them all the time. All I can say is rest in peace. The greatest way to honor those of us that have served is to 1, vote. 2, serve your community. 3, respect one another even when we disagree. 4, I believe that we do what we can to help homeless veterans. And we do have some in Lee County, whether you know it or not, they're here. Unfortunately, I think one of the things I learned early on with homeless veterans is that most of them don't want to be tied down to some place where they have to follow the rules. So a lot of times you can put them someplace and they can't wait to get out of there and go back to what they were doing. So that is one of the major issues that we all have with homeless veterans. And I believe that we have to do everything we can to stop the military and veterans from committing suicide. Suicide prevention right now is a big thing, and we need to get better at it. Teach the next generation the importance of character, integrity, responsibility, and service. The military, like America, is made up of people from every background, from every race, every religion, every political belief, and where they come together as one team to live, work, and fight. When you join the Army, Marines, Navy, Air Force, Space Force, or Coast Guard, you're leaving behind your family and friends. Sometimes it means that you're in various locations where you could end up in harm's way. It means accepting that some who stand beside you today may not stand by you tomorrow. In Vietnam, I saw young Americans who were barely out of high school demonstrate extraordinary courage under unimaginable circumstances. Some came home, others came home carrying wounds that could not be seen, and many had wounds that you could see at all. Years later, during Desert Storm, I witnessed another generation answering the call. You learn that freedom is not inherited, it is defended. It is not guaranteed, it is safeguarded. It is not permanent. It must be renewed by the next generation or every generation. America owes a promise. Never forget. Never forget the fallen. Never forget the wounded. Never forget the sacrifice made quietly without headlines by millions of Americans who serve. Freedom has a price. Veterans paid it, and America must never forget it. I took 4 oaths while I was in the Army. First was the oath when I joined the Army. The second was when I attended Engineer Officer Candidate School. Third one when I became an officer, and the fourth time is when I was sworn in as a regular Army officer. My 50 years wearing an Army uniform was great, but during my military service and teaching junior ROTC in Florida high schools, I ended up serving 34 months in combat, 18 years of jumping from planes and helicopters, and received 44 U.S. foreign awards and decorations. And all that's great. But the people that I served with, the high school students that I saw graduate, and those leaders that inspired me are what's really important. All those medals or awards don't mean squat. Our mission now is supporting military and our Southwest Florida veterans in JRTC. Before I close, I want you all to know that on Wednesday, 15 July at 5 o'clock at the Collaboratory, the new Deputy Director of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs will give a presentation on the Florida Department of Affairs and talk about their mission and what they're doing for veterans in Florida. So what I would ask that all veterans, interested parties, please come to this Collaboratory on the 15th of July at 5 o'clock and listen to Colonel DJ Reyes, an old friend of mine who's now the Deputy Director, and hear what he's got to say and ask questions. And thank you, and may God continue to bless our active duty service members, and especially those who are in the Middle East, our Southwest Florida veterans, the great state of Florida, and the United States of America. Thank you.
First and foremost, I just want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to speak about what we stand for, because without His grace and mercy, none of this would be possible. My brother Phil and I started an organization called IGY6 with one mission: to help give purpose back to veteran and men who feel lost, broken, and forgotten. Phil is a Marine Corps veteran, and my brother Joe is a veteran as well. 13 years ago, I lost him to suicide. That loss changed my life forever, and it became part of the reason why IGY6 exists today. While I'm not a veteran yet, I am currently in the process of joining the Army at 38 years old because I still feel called to serve. Our core mission is simple: build strong men for God who are willing to fight for the kingdom. We host a weekly podcast, weekly Bible studies, mission trips, brotherhood events, where men come together, find purpose, find healing, and discover who God has created them to be. Our dream is to fully fund mission trips and give veterans an opportunity to serve again, because we've seen firsthand how serving others can restore purpose and change lives. Everything we do is centered around three things: God, family, country. So stop by our tent, grab some merch, hear our story, and help us support the mission. God bless the greatest nation on earth. God bless every veteran, every service member, and every faithful American. Keep fighting, and remember, we've always got your six.
Good afternoon, y'all. My name is Tristan Gillespie. I started a nonprofit called the Charlie Kirk Legacy Project. It started off with a Cybertruck that I wrapped as a mobile memorial after Charlie Kirk died. I felt a deep sadness in my heart. I never met Charlie. I was originally going to wrap the truck for my company, but I asked God, like, how can I use my belongings to honor a man who's impacted millions, who's led a younger generation to Christ and to get involved. And it's created a call to action for all of us. So I'm deeply honored to be here. Thank you all for being here. The veterans who sacrificed so much, so that I can be the man that I'm fighting to be, so that the younger generation can be the man that they're fighting to be as well. And for all the other nonprofits that are here, I'm really honored to be walking this walk, not alone, but in power. And I'm here today because of Christ, because I'm a sinner at heart. I've lost my way, and Christ guided me back to Him. I'm so thankful for that. I've partnered with Turning Point USA Faith to create a political activism organization where we, go to campuses, where we engage in controversial debates. To be a man that fights like Charlie, and to empower the younger generation, and even to empower the older generation, and to connect us. There's this huge disconnect where we just don't know how to communicate, and the younger generation needs disciples and mentors more than ever. So, especially when it comes to politics. So that's what I hope to do. I'm not no big name. I'm new to Cape Coral, originally from Texas, and I'm just I need mentorship. I need guidance. I'm hoping to unify people under that, connect those people so that we can all be men of God, we can all be warriors, and we can fight the spiritual battle that's happening today in our own country. Thank you, guys.
And now I would like to introduce Michael Thompson. Michael is the founding chairman of the Lee County Republican Liberty Caucus. So he was the chair for Mike Leva was. He's also the former chair of the Lee County GOP. And he was the person that brought President Trump to our Lincoln Reagan Trump dinner. He was also the state director of Florida for America First under General Michael Flynn. And he is running for Congress in District 22 to be your voice and an advocate in Washington. Give it up for Michael.
Awesome. What's going on, fellas? Ladies, it's good to see you guys here. I gotta hear, can we get like a USA chant going? USA! 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 Everybody in the back! We see you back there. I was kind of concerned because we just came from Naples. We had a debate down there for our congressional district, and it was at a church, and they were a lot louder than you guys were. So I wanted to make sure that we could actually raise the roof over here a little bit. Listen, folks, thank you so much for coming out here. Okay? When we started this Republican Liberty Caucus, it was because a lot of us within the Lee GOP had felt that the hard work and effort and everything that we did has basically been taken away. And we wanted to come out here and set a trend and let people know that the America First group within the Republican Party isn't going anywhere. We're actually only going to get stronger, and we're actually going to take it to the next level. You know, so the state chairman reached out to me last year. It was like, Michael, you're not in the chair of the GOP no more. Will you start a Republican Liberty Caucus? I said, no. I needed to work on me. You know, when I left the chair, I was 162 pounds. I'm 199 now. I got my mental health back. I got my physical health back, and I'm ready to get back in the fight. So I reached back out to him in March and said, let's do it. The first phone call I made was to this gentleman right here, Michael Leva. Give it up for Michael Leva. Michael Leva is a warrior. I have done more rallies and free speech events with him than anybody I have ever done anything with. So it was extremely important to me that Michael buy into what we were talking about doing here. And thank you, Denise, for stepping up as well, and Jenny and everyone else who's a part of this. So the reason why we did this is because our voice isn't going away. You know, the GOP cannot call upon you. They cannot acknowledge you. They can dictate to you and tell you this, this, and this. We're not going to put up with it. When you get dictated to, you lose. Okay? And you're a winner. I'm a winner. We're all winners. We're not going to be dictated to by inferior people. That's the reason why I'm running in this race over here, because I didn't think there was anyone in this race that could beat me. Right? Because I'm going to come out here and advocate for America First policy. I've got the battle wounds, the scars, and everything, including the receipts to prove that I'm a fighter. And that's what I want to do when I get up to Washington. You think we had fun here in Lee County? I had a lot of fun when I was with the RPOF, pushing back on the rhinos in the state party. You know, I sat on the election integrity committee at the RPOF. I raised a motion that the election integrity committee at the RPOF condemn the RPOF for election interference. You ought to see the look on the chairwoman's face. I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, you got to call a spade a spade. And that's what your elected officials don't want you to do. They don't think you know, but I know that you do. So stand up, get behind RLC. If you're not a member, consider joining. They're going to be giving out endorsements to local grassroots candidates and the candidates that deserve being endorsed. We're going to take that opportunity to have them come out here and promote the RLC's endorsement because the GOP won't. The GOP is dictated to by our higher power, and all they care about is getting reelected to whatever position it is that they want. This is our house. There's nothing more disrespectful than when somebody takes what's yours. And this is our house. This is Lee County, and we're not going to let them take it away from us. So please get involved with the RLC. Support Michael. Support Denise. Support our country. Support President Trump. And God bless you.
And now I have the privilege of introducing you to John Strand. John has a specifically unique story that I'm sure that he will share with you that I'm sure changed his life forever. John.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Michael Leva. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. God bless Southwest Florida. And thank you for participating in this project. This is our slice of paradise, and we're going to fight to keep it that way. But I have a question for you. Am I the only one that is absolutely sick and tired? I mean, zero anything left to give with the insanity that's in government. You know the definition of insanity, right? It's electing the same rhinos cycle after cycle, yet expecting different results. Now, I like what Bobby Williams said today, that we need to get God back in government. That is true. I like what our lieutenant governor said today, that you need to know a man by what he's done, not just by what he says. Right? So I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and what I've done so that you can judge. But my name is John Strand, patriot for Congress. We are the only candidate running in Florida 19 for Byron Donald's seat that qualified for the ballot with voter petition support. Every other candidate bought their way on. And also, we are incredibly grateful to be endorsed by Charlie Kirk's Turning Point, which is very exciting. But those of you guys who know me at this point probably know me as the J6 hostage guy that went to prison on principle, so that hopefully you don't have to. I always want to be clear about what that really means and what I went through. I was assaulted by an FBI SWAT team. They shattered my front door with a battering ram. I was disappeared in jail for 4 days without a phone call, and then charged with 5 counts, including a 20-year felony. Life is going to be over. And then they offered me the equivalent of a get-out-of-jail nearly free card, a single misdemeanor plea deal. So if I just signed their false confession and played along with the Washington, D.C. program, I could go home. 20-year felony and a ruined life wiped away. But I refused. Thank you. And not because I knew it was going to work out. It was far more likely I would rot in there for years or get killed. Federal prison's not a joke. Refused Washington's pressure because there is never a right time to do the wrong thing. I chose prison over a lie, you guys, because let's face it, somebody's got to start fighting back against this failed and corrupt government. So I am running to restore courage, common sense, and Judeo-Christian values back into government so we can finally end the fraud, waste, and abuse that is bankrupting this nation morally and financially, and deliver what Americans and what Southwest Florida actually needs: security, affordability, and for goodness sake, some accountability. Now, if you believe that the status quo in America and even here in Florida is good enough, you have all kinds of options in the Florida 19 race. But if you want real change in Washington, the kind they'll resist as they always do, if you believe America's worth fighting for, and if you want leaders who have proven that they won't fold under pressure, then you got to join the fight with us today at johnstrand.com. I will fight to pass the Save America Act and secure our elections. I don't care what it takes. I will fight to secure our border and accelerate deportations so that you and your family can actually afford to live in your own country. I will fight to banish the sexual grooming of the pride trans cult because God's children are not for sale. If you are tired of weak politicians, I am your fighter. I will never stand down and never sell out in the fight to defend your faith, your family, your freedom, and your culture, because this republic belongs to you, and together we are going to keep it. You know, right now people are talking about a lot of threats to America. Communism, Islamism. Okay, the enemy is within the gates. That's not a saying, that's the reality we are facing. Okay, the only cure for that is Americanism, American exceptionalism. We need to reclaim this nation as one nation under God. We need to reclaim our civic duty as citizens to participate in the experiment that our founders bled and died for and bequeathed to us, that we must protect and preserve for our children. Because as Ronald Reagan, another actor who became a statesman, he reminded us that freedom is not passed down in the bloodstream. You must teach it to your children and fight for it from generation to generation. So on August 18, the fate of the nation and the fate of Southwest Florida is in your hands. On August 18, let's vote for change. Let's vote for courage. Let's vote John Strand, patriot for Congress. God bless you guys.
After Madison Cawthorn comes up and speaks, then we are going to call the rest of the CD19 candidates up as well. And I will do that right after Madison talks. So Madison Cawthorn is not new to the political arena, and I'm sure that he has some perspectives and stories that he can tell you. Madison.
Yeah.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Madison Cawthorn, and it is an honor to get to be here today. Now, I am running for Congress on August 18th, but Michael asked me if I could come and talk about how special our country is this year, our 250th anniversary of our nation being the greatest in the entire world. Now, when you look back into our photos of the founding fathers, so many of them look old, and they really doesn't capture what was going on. Now, that reason is because they all used to wear wigs like they did in Great Britain. But the founding fathers were not some stale, old, aristocratic class. They were people who wanted to fight for every single one of us. James Madison, the man who wrote our Constitution, was 25 years old. Lafayette, who led us through so many battles, was only 18 years old. Alexander Hamilton, 20. James Monroe, 21. Young people have been redefining what this country means since its very inception. You look at the warriors who fought in World War I and World War II to defeat the evils that were rising up around the world. And we look at where we are today. Now, my friends, if we look back to that founding generation, I'm sure we all know the amazing stories of those people who really put their sacred honor on the line to make sure that this nation could be founded. But oftentimes, a lot of people, when you think about that, you think of these big national leaders. Say, well, Donald Trump could be our next George Washington, and we have all these great leaders. But I want you to really think, what can you do in your own personal life to affect the kind of change that our founding generation affected? Because we have to think about what kind of a culture had we created as a society to have all of these amazing leaders rise up and to fight for us? What were the morals that we all believed in so that we all thought, yeah, I can trust my neighbor with self-determination and self-governance? What were the pastors saying when they Black Coat Regiment stood up and told their congregations to go fight for this nation? And for so many of us, I think that a lot of people, establishment that's in place, wants freedom, liberty-minded patriots to believe that we are alone and that you have to have all the numbers and all the financial backing to actually make a difference. But if you look back into our history, only 3% of the North American population actually stood up to the British, the greatest empire the world had ever known. And back on that day when they signed the Declaration of Independence, and remember, there were 56 signers who actually signed it, but there were several people who were there that did not put their name on the list because they didn't want to risk it. Remember, do not be someone that the histories will forget. But when we think about where they did this, they actually signed it in a port city in Philadelphia. And they signed it where? Hence, all of us gathered here in Philadelphia, declared independence from Great Britain. And Great Britain, as you know, was the greatest naval superpower the world had ever known. So think of the cojones that our founders had. But when you start really thinking about it and thinking about what the conversations were like, because remember, the founding started off at so many of the bars inside of our first 13 colonies and in so many of our churches that happened. A lot of people hear the Black Coat Regiment, perhaps they've heard of it before, but a lot of people just skim over what it meant. The Black Coat Regiment was a grouping of pastors who came together to lead their congregations to take up arms for our religious liberty so that the crown could not tell us that we cannot worship our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And now you ask yourselves, think of what our churches are preaching today. Are so many pastors say, well, because the church, the government gives us our tax relief on our tithes and our offerings, we don't want to offend anybody. We don't want to do anything that's going to keep our numbers down. No, the Bible is an offensive book. The Bible is something that should make you recoil sometimes and say, wait a minute. This is speaking to me. I need to clean my own life up. And we need to demand that our pastors do the same. Our pastors need to stand up and say, we will not find common ground with these leftist scum who hate us, because there is no middle ground with evil. When they want to abort our babies in the belly and causing murder to an entire generation, 33% of the millennial generation is not alive today because of abortion. When they want to say that you cannot have your voice, and if you post these things on social media, you will be arrested. Or if you go into the People's House on January 6th, I'll never forget it. On January 6th, I was there debating on Wisconsin. I was in Congress at the time. They told us we needed to evacuate because everything was going just to haywire and to hell in a handbasket. And anyways, we start going,
And then they say, sir, this is the emergency exit. And it's 3 flights of stairs straight down. And then the Capitol Police, who answered to Nancy Pelosi, nobody wants to admit that, but Capitol Police at the time answered to Nancy Pelosi, said, sir, we'll carry you down. I said, absolutely not. Next headline would be, Capitol Police dropped former Congressman Madison Cawthorn, who's now perished in the stairway. And a dream come true for her. And so anyways, me and a couple other congressmen, we went through the main lobby and then we went out through the rotunda. And when I went out there, it was like a Trump rally. We were taking selfies with people. Everyone was doing great. I called January 6th the Great Trespassing. But what did they want us to remember after that? When they had the ATF go door to door and say, hey, you were at January 6th. We need to arrest you. What happened to my friend John Strand when he was arrested and disappeared for so long because of what happened then? They are terrified of Christian conservatives gathering en masse in large numbers because they know how easy it would be for us to take our country back away from them. My friends, this is our nation. The founding fathers gave us the blueprint. When there are trespasses against humanity that are so great, it is time for all of us to rise up. And you think about what the founding fathers gave us. They gave us the opportunity for a bloodless revolution every 2 years. If we all show up en masse to vote, we elect people up and down the ballot who believe in the founding principles, who believe in the Bible. My friends, we could have a supermajority in the House and Senate overnight. We would be able to pass any legislation that we wanted. We would say BlackRock and Blackstone, you cannot own single-family homes because homes in the state of Florida are for families and not for investors. We would look at these people who are trying to cause abortion en masse, and we would say, if you do this, this is a crime against humanity, and you will be arrested for murder to the doctors who are trying to do this. If we see this birth tourism that's coming into our country, this legal invasion that is happening, and we had a patriot Congress and patriot Senate, we would say, you will not take our country because we are the United States of America. We are the greatest force for good the world has ever known. It is up to every single one of us to maintain this country for the next generation because believe me, they want to take it from us. They want to take the birthright that was promised to all of you by your forefathers who worked and bled for this great nation. They want to take it away from the next generation. It is time for all of us to rise up and say, no, you will not have our country. You will not prostitute our young women. You will not take the testosterone out of our young men's bodies. We will rise up and we will fight you, whether it is here, whether it is in Washington, D.C., all across this nation. We will rise up. Take your country back.
CD19 candidates, please come up and introduce yourselves. Ola, Hawatma, John Strand, Mike Hedison, Jim Overweiss. Please come up and take a few minutes to tell people why you're running and about your experience. After that, we're going to do the raffle drawing. Oh, sorry, giveaway drawing. Can't say raffle.
It lights my heart to see so many amazing patriots here today. My favorite color is red, white, and blue. I'm a first generation born and raised in the greatest country in the world, and that is why I'm a freedom fighter, and I will never take my freedom for granted, and that is why we have to fight every day. Every day. My entire adult life, I've been a freedom fighter. My dad came here at the age of 21 legally. He was the only son of 7 sisters. He inherited my grandfather's olive farms, and he left that behind. He left all of that behind for something so precious that money can't buy. The greatest gift that we have today is what? And that is what it's our responsibility every day to fight to protect and preserve our freedom. I forgot who it was that mentioned earlier about Muslim nation taking over. We can't allow that to happen. I refuse to allow that to happen. I will fight for our freedom every day until my last breath. Win or lose, our responsibility is to protect and preserve our. Yes. By the way, Born to Ride 45, thank you for your endorsement. I started 2 businesses from nothing. I started a nonprofit working with veterans, helping thousands of our veterans throughout the country because I owe my freedom to them. Sit on the board of Helping a Hero and Defenders Gateway, helping donate homes to our veterans. I currently work for the U.S. House of Representatives, and I see what the Democrats are doing every day. For the most of my days, I knock on doors. I've never knocked on a door with an American flag that's a Democrat because they hate our country. I mean, it's disgusting. And it's disgusting what I see in D.C. and it's disgusting what I see, and it's everywhere in our whole entire country, and we cannot allow that to happen. Ola Hawama for Congress. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being such amazing patriots. Continue to fight. My slogan is never give up, never give in. No matter what, we don't give up.
Good afternoon, Southwest Florida. My name is Mike Patterson, longtime Floridian, longtime Cape Coral resident. I've driven down this street thousands of times, usually taking high school wrestlers back home after practice. I bleed Florida. Florida is my home of record. Cape Coral is where I've spent my last 27 years. 250 years. Can we survive another 250? I think we can, as a constitutional republic. Anybody else here gets perturbed when you hear the Democrats say, our democracy is at stake? And I want to stand up and go, we're not a frickin' democracy. We're a constitutional republic. I say that all the time. I'm running because that's all I've done my entire life. I'm a servant. I'm a giver. I saw on the side of Charlie Kirk's car there, Lord, I'm here. Take me. It's been my whole mantra. I am the one. I'm here. That's all I do. Serve. I believe that our country, we're going to have another 250 years. I think we're on that track. Jesus Christ was a carpenter. Kind of ironic that as I was driving over here, I heard the Carpenter song on the radio, satellite, and the song was "We've Only Just Begun." So I think we've only just begun. We got another 250 years plus for our country. It's been a tough journey. It's interesting that the word, we're 250 years. We had 25,000 of our men killed in the war for our freedom and our liberty. It's kind of ironic that number keeps popping up. Our Civil War, we almost were divided as a country. You know how many people we lost fighting that war to keep us as a union, as the United States? Some estimates say 800,000. Put that in perspective. That's all the conflicts we've had together, added all together. Incredible. I am a fighter. I keep hearing that word. 20-year Marine Corps, combat veteran. I don't like to tout that too much, but I understand what the word fight means. I fight for everything all day long in this community for sure. I am a servant giver. I've given thousands and thousands of hours back to the Southwest community. I have deep roots here. I did not just move here not too long ago, escaping a fight from another state. I've been in Florida my entire life fighting here and for our country. I know my mission. I know as a representative, and I like to use the term over Congressman, as a representative, I will bring your dollars back. Tax money is your money. That's my money. I know that's my job. My job will also be to vote the right way and represent the Republican Party. I know my mission. I know our enemies. I trained for many years to fight them. I know it's communist China. I know it's Russia. They're still our enemy. They have more nuclear weapons warheads than we do. I know that it's radical Islamic jihadis. I understand that. I fought Iraqis during Desert Storm. I know who our enemies are. Let me add one more on there. The Democrat Party. Over the last several months, the more I think about it, I kind of put them at the top of the list. I really despise the Democrat Party. I hope there's none of them here, but if they are, I think they're in the wrong crowd. On August 18th and the week prior, you have a chance to represent Southwest Florida and cast your vote for who you think will represent you the best. I'm here to pitch my fight for that. I want to be your representative. Please vote for Mike Pedersen, MikePedersenForCongress.com. Take a look at the endorsements that are on my page. There's no politicians on there. They're all red-blooded Americans. Click on their faces, read their testimonies. MikePedersenForCongress.com. I want to be your representative. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for being here, truly, and for participating in the process and for letting me to speak again. And I'll be very brief, but I am really grateful and honored to be running, to be your representative, a fighter for your values in Washington, and a leader to return our nation as one nation under God. And I did escape communism in California, but I came to Southwest Florida specifically because I've been fighting against government overreach ever since 2020 and COVID. As the creative director for America's Frontline Doctors, one of our frontline doctors is now the Surgeon General of Florida, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, in Governor DeSantis' administration. So I recognized COVID for what it was immediately, and because I had the foundational Judeo-Christian principles and the founders' teachings, I understood how to respond to that. But I just wanted to share with you, if you are really interested in the full story of who I am and why I'm running for office, I was in prison. It was terrible. But I wrote a book while I was there. I mean, by hand in prison notebooks, there in the jail cell. It's a pretty extraordinary story, and I really hope that you'll consider reading it and sharing it with your friends and family, because it's much bigger than me and what happened to me. It's about our country and what's happening to our country. And I think it would really inspire you as well as disturb you about what's going on in this nation and why all of us need to fight, fight, fight. And this is a primary, and we're all competing against each other as Republicans right now. But remember, we need to know who the enemy is, right? The enemy is the deceiver, the father of lies. The enemy is certainly now the Democrat Party, completely co-opted by Satan. And the enemy is anyone who tries to deceive you for their own personal ambition. And there's a lot of that going on. So we must stay rooted in the Bible. We must stay rooted in the Constitution. And we must all do our part to get engaged in primaries and elect the best possible courageous leaders to represent our values in government and take our country back. Thank you. God bless you, and come support us at johnstrand.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be very brief. I know it's extremely hot out here. I want to thank you all for coming out. My policies are very simple. I believe on immigration moratorium. I believe on deporting every single illegal alien in the country. I believe on removing the National Firearms Act. I believe on arresting Anthony Fauci for crimes against humanity. And I am a free speech absolutist. I believe you should be allowed, because again, if we all said in public what all of us say in private, this country would be a different place overnight. They want you to feel like you're alone. Get out and speak. Be loud. Let everyone know what you believe. By the elections on August 18th, the primary is the most important thing. I hope that I can earn your vote. Before I do get off the stage, I want to recognize one very special person. We have some very special people. We have my fiance right here in a pink polo. We've got my great mother in a pink polo right here. But in a red shirt right back over this way is a woman named Amanda Cochran, and she is running to be your county commissioner in District 5. She's amazing. There was a Terry Miller plant who was taking the position, and she's going to take it back. Thank you all so much.
Like I said, there's a chart on the table over there that will tell you who the establishment candidates are. Those are the people that are taking the builder money, the developer money, the PAC money, and the elected official money. Please feel free after this to stick around, get into the sanctuary, get out of the heat, talk some more to the candidates for a meet and greet. But without further ado, we're going to do our giveaways. So this is an Americana basket. And we'll have Mike Leva pick the number.
All right. Number is 459023. 459023.
Anyone? Right? You're going to love the beach cover-up that's in there. You got to know I picked it out.
Yeah, set it up.
The next three giveaways are a 1-year membership to Fowler Gun Range. Okay. You're in the white envelopes, one at a time, white bags, one at a time.
Let's go ahead.
459003. Again, 459003. Here we are.
This one was like, it was.
Okay. Next gun membership. Right there, Mike.
Okay, not this one. Yeah.
Remember the Rugrats?
Yeah. And like